We have some developing news. RFK Jr. is reportedly planning to drop out of the presidential race by the end of this week. That's according to media stories by ABC News and others. That outlet says that RFK Jr. plans to endorse former President Donald Trump. RFK's campaign announced that he will address the nation about, quote, the present historical moment and his own path forward tomorrow morning in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, some suggest he could also be appearing at Trump's Phoenix area rally that same night. Now, I know viewers have good reason to be skeptical of a lot of mainstream reporting about RFK Jr. I will say that I personally have also heard these rumors and have some reason to believe that they are, in fact, true, and RFK Jr. is at least seriously weighing, if he has not yet outright decided, to get out of the race tomorrow. Now, as a reminder, his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, said in a podcast this week that the campaign is considering whether to join forces with Trump to prevent Kamala Harris from winning the election. Trump reacted to all this news about RFK Jr. this morning on Fox. Let's take a listen.
So I've known him for a long time. He's as you know, he's a little different kind of a guy. Very smart guy. He's a very good person. If he endorsed me, I would be honored by it. I would be very honored by it. He really has his heart in the right place. He is a respected person. Women love some of his policies, and I guess some people don't like some of his policies. But overall, I thought the Democrats, he was a Democrat. I don't know what he is right now, but he was a Democrat. They treated him very badly. I think he would have, he goes around saying he would have beaten Biden in the primary. I think there was a good chance. What they did to him was what they did to Biden.
Meanwhile, RFK Jr.'s running mate was asked if his endorsement would be more beneficial to the Trump or Harris campaign. Let's watch.
If you, in fact, joined the Trump campaign, I'm not saying the Trump campaign, if you pulled out of the race, that it would be more beneficial to the Trump campaign than the Harris campaign. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that it's a tight race right now. Yeah. I wish that we had had a chance to debate, that we had fair representation in the polls. I wish we had a chance to be on stage, because had we likely would have won this election. Yeah. 71% of Americans want a strong third-party option, and we delivered it in terms of ballot access.
Kennedy is now polling at about 5% per 538. A Pew Research Center survey found that Harris enjoyed a 6% improvement from Biden's standing in July. Largely, this came from those who had previously reported leaning towards Kennedy. It's expected that Kennedy dropping out would slightly help Trump, as he's tended to perform worse in polls when third-party candidates are included. Now, I think that's interesting, that statistic that during Biden's run, before he had dropped out, he had these voters that were not so keen on showing up for him. They were probably going to go towards Kennedy instead, but when Kamala Harris was the nominee, or presumptive nominee, they moved towards her. Now, the question's interesting there, asked to Shanahan, who would be more beneficial? I think that question is referring to RFK Jr.'s values and people who support him, making those real in the world. Is that how you take that as well?
Yeah, look, there is some overlap between people who support Trump and people who support RFK Jr. I think him getting out of the race, and then especially if he endorses Trump, I mean, if he calls on his supporters to vote for Trump, to say, we don't agree on everything, but we can't trust Kamala Harris in the White House on the issues that you supported me on, COVID, tyranny, and other things. The Democratic Party is hostile. They're beholden to elites and a kind of progressive expertise that is bad for this country, and Trump is the best alternative. I think that would help Trump. I do expect this is going to happen again. As I said earlier, I understand the skepticism from people, don't believe everything the mainstream reports on RFK Jr., but I have also seen some independent corroboration that things are going this way. I think it's a shame that he won't be in the general election to be an option for people who are disenchanted with the two-party system. I myself am very disenchanted with the two-party system. I know many of our viewers are as well. But the reality is, and I've said this a couple times before in my remarks about RFK Jr., the reality is, under our system, even if you have significant support as an independent, a third-party candidate, 5%, 10%, 15%, you got to get to 15% to even be considered to be in the debate. You have to have a certain amount of support to qualify for public funding of your campaign. And then RFK Jr. is running as an independent, not part of a third party. So there's not going to be a party that even benefits from the signatures he's gathering, the getting on the ballot effort. So how can you translate a tangible level of support from the people in America into policy change, into influence? And the only way you can do that is this option, is to say, well, now I will give you my support, in exchange for some kind of a level of influence over your candidacy. So it's not surprising at all that he's doing that, because we have a system that is unfortunately set up for the benefit of two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. That's why we've only ever had two real parties. They've changed identities a little bit over the years. Our founders were very wise. They set up, in my view, a great system in most ways. However, our system has some deficiencies when compared to a parliamentary system in terms of the options of candidates. It's so winner take all. It's designed to just have two parties, and so he's really had a tough road. And then, of course, he's faced. Democratic activists have worked to get him off the ballot in states. They succeeded in New York. So you know what? Maybe they're getting, careful what you wish for. They're going to get him out of this race, and he's going to, it sounds like, throw his support to Donald Trump, which will be worth something in this super, super close election. So some people will say, that serves you right, Democrats.
Now, it is interesting to consider the ballot access or placement aspect of all of this, because it's my understanding that once you're on the ballot, you're on the ballot, and it's an arduous process to get off the ballot. And so I think RFK Jr. is going to have some difficulty dropping out and endorsing Trump, but still his name appearing on the ballot in many states. That's true. And for a lot of voters who are upset with the two-party system and lean to the right, he's kind of their protest candidate. They can emote in that way with their, feelings about the two-party system and just say, I'm voting for him anyway. And so I think that's going to be difficult, a decision to be made possibly by Trump. If he has RFK Jr.'s endorsement, is he going to put resources towards getting his name off the ballot? That's going to be a very interesting political fight, potentially a legal one as well.
Look how the two parties right now are treating RFK Jr. Donald Trump welcoming RFK Jr., making an appeal to his voters, saying, I don't agree on him with everything, but he's been good on some issues, and he's been treated badly by the Democratic Party, and so was Joe Biden, and there's a home for you kind of disaffected, independent, but right-leaning on some issues, but there's a home for you here. Contrast that with the pitch the Democratic Party has made to him, which is no pitch at all. It's been drop dead. Get out. Go away. We want nothing to do with you. This is from someone who identified as a Democrat as recently as a year ago. So it really goes to show you who is interested in your vote and who is not. And we will be paying very close attention to what what RFK Jr. ends up saying tomorrow, if it is getting out of the race and endorsing Trump. So we will stay tuned for that. More Rising right after this.